Definitely Carol Burnett was an early influence and continues to be so. That was because she was the first comedian I watched because my grandmother really loved her show, the Carol Burnett show, and we'll always have the reruns on. So I would watch that a lot with my grandmother and really like belly laugh at her and her antics. So I think a lot of my silliness kind of started watching her. And then I was a big SNL fan. I watched it religiously every Saturday and every cast, different eras of cast. At first, the one that first resonated with me were the Sandler and Chris Farley and David Spade, that group. And then the Will Ferrell, Molly Shannon, Sherry O'Terry group really was a big influence too.
Do you still watch SNL religiously today?
I still watch it. Sometimes I'm like a month behind on it. I still try to skim through it because I'm just always curious about what they're doing and what the performers are doing. I think it's just a habit at this point.
I record it and get to it like a month later
Yeah,
also.
right. It's not the same as I think when you're younger and you're just I was so fascinated with it. It's a little different now cuz I guess you know how the sausage is made when you're a comedian. It's
That's
not
true.
it doesn't have the magical thing it used to, but it's also my age.
And like, does anyone watch TV in real time
I know,
anymore
right?
anyway?
I don't think so.
I certainly don't.
Yeah.
What about talk to me about being on the Mindy Project?
Oh, I loved it. I've been very lucky to work for some pretty incredible women in particular. I've had some really strong, smart, successful women at the helm of projects that I've been on. So I went from Chelsea to I left Chelsea and did that pilot with Tina Fey, and then did another pilot with Tina Fey of that I wrote. So I got to work with her for about a year and a half. And then from that show, I got the Mindy Project, and Mindy's incredible. It's just one of the smartest people I've met. And the writing was so sharp. I never had to even think about my lines or the plot. I mean, they were so on it that you just show up and deliver this really funny material. And everyone was so nice. And that was my first, like, that's where I really learned more about acting. It's where I learned about techniques and marks and the technical part of filming. And so I learned a ton on that show. And I feel like that was a show that really opened up the acting door a lot more for me.
What's like one of the main things you learn from Mindy Kaling?
I mean, I don't think she ever stops. I definitely learned that, the drive, watching her just juggle so many things and never seem tired. She was always prepared. There was never I never heard a complaint or I mean, she just juggled like eight things and just did it so seamlessly. So I love just seeing like a boss, like a just a true boss and just a very creative person as well. I learned a lot from just seeing how she carried herself.
I think that's such a misperception about this business too. People think like this person's famous. I'm like,
Hmm.
no one makes it without working
Oh
night and
yeah,
day. Sorry. Like,
yeah, and she was always, on. Mindy was the show she was working on, and that was her focus. But she was also creating like five other things, at the same time. So I think she's already been putting out Never Have I Ever, and then the one that just came out with the sex lives. I can't remember the
yeah,
name of it. I think she's gonna keep putting out like show after show after show. She's just that smart, and she works with smart people.
I love Mindy. Do you
Yeah.
have a famous, like you've been on so many shows I love, the L Word, Claws, Two Broke Girls, Glee. Yeah, let's not
I
forget a
pop
little Niecy Nash and Claws. I mean,
I pop in a lot to places just
you
for,
do.
a little boop here and there.
But so many memorable like mini parts. Like, do you have a favorite set that you were like a guest star on?
Oh gosh. I'm trying to think. There's been yeah, like that's kind of been my thing. People are always like, I see you everywhere. But I love that thing where people want you to come in and play like a really bonkers characters. Like with Claus was so fun because I was this lawyer with these big nails, and Niecy was awesome. I love that show.
It's such a good show.
I was supposed to come back for another episode, but then timing wise something happened. And she kept, even while I was there, being like, "We gotta bring you back," and then I think it just didn't make sense that with the character. But it was really cool. Probably my favorite guest star I recurred, but was Life in Pieces. It was a show on CBS, and the people that it had like 5 or 6 million viewers a week, which in these times is really great.
Yeah.
But it was a show that was for sure under the radar, even though it had that kind of viewership. But it was the cast was incredible, and I got to work with Diane Weiss a lot, and she's the nicest person. I adore her. She's just like this. You just want to like hug her and just be around her. She has this warm energy, and the whole cast was really great. And I just did 7 episodes of that on that show for over 4 seasons. And that show, I travel all over the country, and that is a show people come up to me about constantly. And I don't think anyone would ever guess that show. You know what I mean? But the character they created for me was so wild and bonkers, that it truly was such a memorable role for me.
And when people come up, like, you're on tour now, which we'll get into in a second, like that's the show people want to mention. I'm more than
They
like,
mention it a ton.
wow.
They're like, Dougie, we love Dougie. And I was like, whoa, I've been in Italy and people have been like, Dougie. I'm like, this is so crazy. So the part about that show that bums me out the most is that, and again, they were a product of the regime changing. They didn't know that they were ending when they ended season 4, so they never got to have their swan song. And I hate that the show that was so good, the writing was incredible, the cast was incredible, and to not have gotten to like have some sort of goodbye stinks. But
That's the worst.
That's the world that we're in.
That is the world that we're in. I don't think COVID has helped anything either.
No, yeah, COVID came pretty soon after that. So, but they were like so close to hitting their like 100 episodes, which for those non-industry folks, 100's the sweet spot you want to get to for syndication and whatnot. But I'm like, just give them one more season.
Seriously, let's just wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
What about Glee? I mean, I have vivid memories of you on Glee.
I just did, again, 1 episode for that. I think I was in the second to the last episode ever. And it was an interesting time on the Glee world, that set, because I had watched it like everybody else. It was such a phenomenon at the time. It started trickling down, their last like 2 seasons. I was kind of left to my own devices. Truth be told, I think everybody had checked out. They were just like, bye-bye, we're done. I didn't even know who the director was. Like, we just were like there, and they were just like, here's where you're gonna sit, deliver your line, and that's that. And I hadn't done a ton of TV at the time, and I was like, is this how it works? Like, nobody's really telling me what to do. And I was a judge for one of the competitions, and I was a dog trainer, so they brought a poodle in, and the poodle like snapped at my face and this is like a giant poodle, missed my nose by like half an inch. So it was a very wild experience, but I'm glad I got to do it because it was cool to like just be a part of that show. And it was cool to watch how they did the performances,